When I named Endeavor, I knew immediately that this was my heart business. If you've ever heard the term heart horse, you know what I mean. It's like the one you've been preparing for your whole life without even realizing it. And they usually only come around once in a lifetime, and every other one before that one was just practice. So when it came time to build the brand identity for Endeavor, like the visuals and the logo, I was going to get it right. I had strong creative convictions. I had done design work for other founders, and I knew my way around a brand. And yet I still spent $5,000 on a logo that never felt right. So, this is the story of how I did exactly what I now tell my clients not to do and what it cost me, not just in money, in something more expensive than that. Welcome to Ready, Fire, Aim. This is the show for the trailblazers, the risk takers, the storytellers, and the problem solvers, the ones in bold pursuit of their purpose and the business they were made for. I'm your host, Lacey Arant, brand strategist and lover of sticky notes, and this is where we wrangle the chaos of entrepreneurship. Let's dive in. Welcome into episode 7. I'm so glad you're back. Now, this is a show about branding and strategy and business, but it's also a show where I tell on myself a lot. So today is one of those days. Last week, I told you where the show's name came from, and it was about my papaw and the horse and the 4-year-old me, the whole thing. And today, I'm going to tell you about the time that I had every advantage going into a branding project, my own project, and still got it wrong, like so very wrong. But I'm sharing this today because if I'm going to ask you to do this work, you should know that I've paid the consequences of getting it wrong so many times. So 2 years ago, in April actually, I sat down to brand Endeavor, and I'd gone through a couple of names and concepts, but when I got to the word Endeavor, I knew this was it. It means the bold pursuit of something of importance, like bingo, check that one off the list. It said exactly what I wanted to say. And so I had named it very carefully. And I knew this business was different from the ones I had built before. And while I could have just bootstrapped it at the time, gosh, the puns are really just too much. I was so committed to getting this right that I really didn't want to just piece it together myself. And I knew that it would be an investment, but I was confident enough in this concept to do it. So I hired an agency out of Nashville to build me a visual kit. And it was $5,000. But I came to the first call super prepared. I had the mood board, several creative directions. I had a really clear vibe in my head. And looking back, the mood board is hilarious. I should have printed it out. It has a bald eagle on it, America, freedom, the American dream, a pair of my vintage leather cowboy boots that I bought in a field in Round Top, Texas, and a picture of Sandra Bullock with a bold red lip because confidence, I mean, the symbolism was really strong. But in saying all of this, I did have a very specific concern that I wanted to flag for them. And that was that I didn't want it to be too feminine. And I just kept saying, like, I want my team to want to wear this on a sweatshirt, but I also want my dad and my husband to want to wear it on a golf shirt. It has to do both. And I thought I was being clear and trying to be directional and full of symbolism. But what I was actually doing was confusing direction with clarity. And those are not the same thing. I had a lot of one and not much of the other. And here's how I learned that. On the first call, $5,000 in, the agency showed me their initial concepts. And my stomach dropped a little because one in particular jumped off the screen. Because I was already using it, that exact logo, on my personal business cards for like speaking engagements and contract work. And I had gotten it from the Canva pre-made logos section. So small red flag there. And it's probably the moment in that process where I felt like this was headed in the direction of one of my more expensive mistakes, as my husband likes to call them. Now, embarrassingly, this is not the most expensive mistake that I would ever make, but that's not the story we're telling today. But I want to be honest about this part because, the temptation can totally be like in a story like this to make the agency the bad guy, and they are not. Let me just say that out loud. We'll get to that part later. But I did tell them that I recognized that design and that I had already used it before. And I wanted them to know, right, that I knew where that had come from. But I told them, like, I wanted to be pushed creatively. I was so willing to invest in getting this right that I was spending money that my business had not made yet. Let me be clear. And I really, really wanted to see what was in my head and honestly, my heart be realized in design, like really bad. And so, somewhere in the next round of revisions, I started talking about clouds, like the sky's the limit when you have brand clarity, right? That kind of thinking. And one of us, I really hope it was them and not me, found that there are actual symbols in meteorology for different cloud types, like little graphic icons that scientists used. And I picked one and they revised it a little bit, and that became my logo. Actually, have it right here. If you are watching on YouTube, hi, hello. We're now on YouTube. You can go find the video of this if you've only been listening to audio so far. But I had to go dig this out of the bottom of a drawer because we no longer use it. But this is what I'm talking about, this like graphic icon. This was my logo. But the color palette, okay, to their credit, at least did lay a foundation for us. And I still love it. It's our denim blue and the highlighter yellow you still see today in our stuff. Those did come out of that engagement with them, and I have kept them. And so it wasn't a total wash, but the mark itself, that cloud icon, never felt right. And if you're in this branding world at all, you will know what I mean when I say that it was literally painful to me, like so painful. And while I'm not a designer, I am a bit of a psycho when it comes to brand direction and your visual assets really telling your brand story. That is so important to me. You could ask me about any of the brands we've ever designed for, and I could record an entire episode for each of them and probably bore you to death with the little details of all of them that are so meaningful. And many of them you would probably not even pick up on, but I know what they mean, and I know that they mean something to the clients that we created them for. But back to mine. I tried to tell myself that I was just being too critical, which, if you know me, is something I can totally be guilty of doing. But I have learned that it's usually worth listening to if I really try to shake something or a feeling like that, and I just can't. So, what did it cost me? Well, the easy answer is $5,000. And $5,000 is a lot of money. And I'll be honest with you, my business was not at the point where I could afford to lose $5,000 at the time. And so it was really painful. But the truer answer to you is that I believe that money is a vote. And when I wrote that check, I was voting for the work that I had seen this agency do for other brands that I loved. I was voting for the version of Endeavor that I knew it could become with the right visual representation. And I was also voting against trusting myself because I had these strong instincts about this brand and I loved it so much, so soon, and so early on that I overrode the trust that I had in myself at some point and to defer it to other people that I just decided knew better than me. And that's really the more expensive part. It's almost like it just felt like it was too special for me to keep holding on myself at the time. Like it would be better off in someone else's hands. So I just found some as quickly as I could and handed it off. And looking back, that part actually makes me really sad. So I was already struggling with it, but then the more external evidence started showing up. 5 different people on different occasions looked at my logo and they were like, "Oh, is that an upside down E like for Endeavor? Okay, yeah, I get it." It was not an it was not an upside down E. It was a meteorological cloud symbol that was supposed to evoke the limitlessness of brand clarity. Obviously. Come on. Do you see? If you're back on the video part, it is not an upside down E, or was not. But here's the thing about a misaligned logo that people don't understand. You stop wanting to send it to people. You stop printing it on things. You stop putting it out there with confidence. And for a brand strategist, that is a particular kind of irony that I do not wish on anyone. That's no good. And I want to take responsibility on my part of this and be clear that finding creative partnerships that really work is like dating. You just have to find the right one. And so none of this is in an effort to criticize them and the people I worked with. The agency that I hired could only work with what I gave them. And what I gave them was a vibe and a worry about being too feminine and a mood board with Sandra Bullock on it. And actually looking back, it is really funny. It really all still totally fits with what I wanted. But what I did not give them was a real brand strategy because I didn't have one. At least certainly not the way that I have one now. I knew what I wanted Endeavor to feel like. I just didn't have the method yet to translate this feeling into a brief that any designer could actually execute against. And that gap between I know what this brand should feel like and I can tell you exactly what this is and who it's for. That gap is brand strategy. That's the part that so many people miss. I mean, me included at the time. And here's what I found out eventually, and what I wish I'd been able to say on that first call with them. There's something about a ranch brand that holds trust and legacy and this undercurrent of the hard work that it took to build both of those things. I knew that in my heart at the time. It's where all of this came from, but I just couldn't say it out loud like I can now. If you've never seen one, a ranch brand is the mark that a rancher burns into its cattle to show ownership. And it's usually simple, usually a few letters or a specific shape. And it has to be readable from across a field on a moving animal, sometimes in bad lighting or weather. It is form following function in the most literal way possible. But more than that, a ranch brand is generational and it gets passed down. It shows up on the gate of the property, on the side of the trucks, on the belt buckles. And it means like, this is ours. We built this and we're still here. That is what I wanted. I wanted this modern Western nod, something that said, gosh, the woman who built this brand strategy firm comes from some people who pulled themselves up by their bootstraps and were never scared of hard work. Because that's the truth. Listen, we might not get it right all the time. And our claim is certainly not perfection at Endeavor. But I would be shocked and pretty sad if how hard we work at it is ever questioned. Like, this is in the fabric of who we are, right? And I couldn't have told them any of that when I was on the call with those calls with that agency. I felt that, and it was absolutely true about me then. It's true about us now, but I couldn't name it. So we built a cloud instead. Oh man. So you might be wondering, and yes, we eventually rebranded. And the way that that happened is also part of this lesson. The first move was hiring our in-house designer, who is incredible. She's fabulous. And at the time, we had a lot of client work going on, but I was still struggling with it so much that I just started like hand sketching ideas on sticky notes with pencil and bringing them to her like every day. She probably has PTSD. But we brainstormed and we sketched and we worked. And I watched the exact thing that I had been afraid of happening from the beginning starting to happen again. And it was that we were just too close to it. We were inside Endeavor every day. I mean, we were Endeavor. It was the two of us at the time. And neither one of us could get enough distance from the work we were doing to be able to see this brand with like fresh eyes. And so our proximity was our problem, which happens all the time, by the way. So I called a designer that I'd worked with on some outside projects that I'd found through a friend of mine. And I just had this feeling like he gets me. I can talk and he delivers, right? And so I called him and I said, listen, modern Western nod, supporting icon that resembles a ranch brand, and then just this energetic color palette that can go clean and modern and corporate when it needs to, but it can also have some fun, you know? Now, that quick little 10-second brief I just told you only took me 2 years and a logo that I never used to write. But he sent me the first iteration back and I cried because it was there. It was right there. The thing I had been trying to describe to an agency with my Sandra Bullock mood board and worrying about sweatshirts and golf shirts, he just got it. And that is the logo that you see on our site today. Now, I've said from the beginning that Endeavor's content gets pushed to the bottom of our list pretty often. So there are still some things in the works that you haven't seen yet, but regardless, it was finally the right one, and I love it so much. So the lesson, here's what I would tell another founder, and what I would tell you is that you have to do the foundational work first. And I tell this to every client who comes through our doors. And this is why our process looks the way that it does. Your brand is a representation of who you are and what you know. But you cannot expect a designer, even a great one, even an expensive one, to extract all of this from you in a 20-minute discovery call. It's not their job. It's actually your job. Or it's the job of someone whose specific skill is pulling this brand strategy out of a founder's head and putting it into language that anyone on your team, including a designer, can actually build and execute from. That's what we do here. And so when you do the identity work first, the real work, the who are we? Who is this for? What do we sound like? What do we stand against type of work? You remove the guessing from the design process. The designer stops trying to read your mind. You stop hiring agencies, just hoping that they know what you mean with your fingers crossed. And then the work gets faster, better, and it becomes a much wiser investment. Now, let me stop here and say that designers are worth every single penny that you pay them. It is such an important skill. And it is also a gift to be able to be clear with them. That I know. So not only is this why we have completely structured our business model around this being the very starting point that we begin with every single person that we work with. It's also why our team offers our brand clarity audit. So getting all of this information out of your head and into a kit that it can actually be executed from. We offer that to graphic designers or designers as a front-end deliverable. So just let me say this. If you are a graphic designer listening to this episode, you need to email us like today, hello@endeavorbranding.com. And we will get that from your client and we will hand it back to you in a kit that is already built. You stop guessing. They stop changing their mind every 2 weeks. You stop the hundreds of revision calls that you feel like are never going to end, and everyone wins. It's like truly magic. So that's the story of my $5,000 logo that never felt right. I guess we actually didn't discuss having to pay the other designer. So we're basically at like $1 million at this point. I'm kidding, but kind of not. But I am an expert in this industry, and I ended up with a brand that I didn't want to show to anyone, which is actually the whole entire point of recording this episode for you. Because if I did that, it can happen to anyone. And so maybe you need to hear this too. If you're sitting on a logo right now that doesn't feel like yours, if you ever find yourself over explaining your branding, or if people have to tilt their head 9 degrees to the right just to see it clearly, the question is not, do you need a better designer? The question is, did you ever actually do the brand work that could tell your designer what to build? So next week, we're going to talk about a more tactical plan and figuring all of this out. So I hope you'll join me in the next episode. We're going to dig in even deeper there. But if you are like in this mess right now yourself, and you don't feel like another podcast is going to cut it, and you're just like, I need a team to do this work with, we absolutely do that. And so you can just book a call with us at endeavorbranding.com, and let's just talk through what our process looks like and see if it's a fit for you. We absolutely love this work, and we would love to see what you're working or not working with. Either way, until next time, hold on tight, darling. We'll see you next week. If you're waiting for permission, if you're waiting for perfect, if you're waiting to feel ready, don't forget, ready, fire, aim. I'll see you next time. Ready, Fire, Aim is brought to you by Endeavor, where we equip overwhelmed founders to build brands that actually generate the impact and revenue they're capable of. If your strategy needs to catch up with your vision, head to endeavorbranding.com to book a call with us. We're ready to meet you where you are and help your brand and business get to the next level.